Thank you all for joining me today. As with the previous panel, we will have a segment dedicated to Q&A. So if you feel like you have any questions, please write them down. We will make sure that the word or the microphone will reach you in the appropriate timing. So to preface this talk today, I would like to cite the World Economic Forum report, which suggests that if the entire global workforce were comprised of just 100 people today, 59 of them would need to be retrained to stay in their position by 2030. The same report also tells us that each and every one of us working currently in the workforce have to expect that up to 39% of our skills would either shift significantly or just become obsolete. So today we're going to talk about the skills that are not going to become obsolete in this changing world. And I would like to ask you about those skills and about the way one can obtain them, actually. How do we develop these skills? How do we teach our kids to develop those skills, even if we don't entirely sure, like, what are they? What is it going to be? And I would like to ask, to start with the bird's eye view and direct my first question to Dzmitry and to ask you to describe in a very, big picture ideas, what is the economy our kids are about to enter? What would be the defining factors of it?
Thank you, Maria. Good morning to everyone. And it's really a great start because I also want to refer to this report, and I recommend to everyone, the name of the title of this report is Future of Jobs by World Economic Forum. This is just about the topic we're talking today about. If talking about a very big picture, what is going on at the labor market today, let's imagine, sorry, I'll be somehow technical, but after that will be as simple as possible. Let's imagine the system of axis, and on x-axis, let's imagine the quality of skills. So at the very beginning, low-skilled labor, then medium-skilled labor, and then high-skilled labor. And y-axis, let's imagine the demand for labor and wages. What is going on? In 20th century, usually it was more or less vertical line there, horizontal line there. So the demand for different types and different quality of workplaces was more or less equal. But during the last 20 years, the picture is particularly different. This is like a U-shape. What does it mean? The more demand goes to low-skilled labor and high-skilled labor, and just the middle, which was the basis for middle class, which was the basis of the logic of society in the 20th century. This is this medium-skilled segment is facing under demand. Why it is going on? Because of automatization. We have been dealing with automatization through all 20th century, even 19th century, but automatization in the last 20-25 years is somehow different because the tasks, so the logic of automatization in 20th century, how it worked. So, for instance, there is a kind of new machine, and some tasks can be delegated to machine from a human, but human obtains more advanced tasks. So, and still it is in the segment of medium-skilled labor. Now, the logic is a bit different. Automatization does not perfectly substitute medium-skilled tasks. It pushes them either to low-skilled labor or to very high-skilled labor. So the world today is a bit different. And yesterday, for instance, just today we have also a conference in BEROC with our, as we call them, Belarusian academic diaspora, so Belarusian professors working in the United States, and we were talking about with them about similar topics. They say, first of all, you must understand, are you okay with sacrificing, for instance, 6 or 7 years for education to go to this high-skilled segment, or it is more about work-life balance and you more or less satisfied being in low-skilled labor? Because getting into this medium-skilled labor, which was almost a choice by default in earlier decades, today becomes somehow more difficult. So, and just for concluding this introductory speech, what is needed to be in this segment of high-skilled labor? Just the topic of our discussion today, you need some specific skills. This is nothing extraordinary, and if you look through this report we're referring to, you will see very trivial names. Number one, there during last 2 or 3 reports, this is critical thinking. Then the couple of skills dealing with technical and technological literacy, so understanding basics of AI, understanding some basic programming skills, and so on. And a couple of skills dealing with self-efficacy and critical thinking and analytical thinking. So these are most demanded skills. I think on the next steps we'll have a possibility to go in more details. But concluding the main point, what I'm talking about, so the logic of being competitive today at the labor market, it is different than it was 15, 12 years ago. Today, in order to be in a, first of all, it is much more challenging to get to the segment of high-skilled labor. And in order to get to this high-skilled labor, you should have a very profound educational background and with the focus on very specific skills and a combination of skills. So,
thank you. And luckily we have a workforce professional today who is in charge of hiring, teaching, and firing talents, probably. So, Nina, would you tell us, is it this way already, or is it going this way? What other trends you observe in your work?
Well, that sounds like pretty much the truth, as everyone has heard, because of the economical situation, everything that's going on in the world. I would say in my terminology, what's happening is like the middle layer of management, the middle layer is getting laid off and being replaced. And now either like the high skilled workers have to take more on and, do something that was done before, and the low skilled workers and so on. What we mentioned is actually called like a T-shaped skill. Like people should be T-shaped. What that means is that every person who is learning something, you have to have like T-shaped. We know what a T looks like. So whatever industry you're going in, whatever you're choosing as your career, you should still not, like everyone before, really wanted to go very low and learn a very specific skills, like we already talked about today, like a specific programming language, like which programmer do I want to be? But it's really not about that. First, you have to learn like the big picture, how the business world works, how where the clients come from, how the communication works between everything like that. So you can't just learn one specific skill. You have to first learn and see the big picture, and then figure out which of those skills is actually yours and you're good at, and become a specialist in that. And that's what the business and like recruiters and HRs is looking for, not just people who know very specific skill. At the same time, we do need it. That's the problem. Like when we have a requirement, we need a specific skills, but we need to hire those people who still see the big picture and can actually take on more roles than before. So if before people are used to and come into the job, and I see especially the younger generation, unfortunately, they come into the job and they really want to like follow a very strict, list of tasks that they will be in. And they ask like, what will I be doing? What will my role comply of? But nowadays, to be honest, from the time we're open in a position, and by the time a person begins to work, we already might have changed the requirement and what needs to be done in the business. So that's why when we're talking long-term, what to learn, what we talked about today, those soft skills will always be there, because that's something that we will always need. But the hard skills, which specifically we need, we will never know. And also another trend that I really want to talk about is there's an HR institute that every year they also prepare a report, and that report is actually about kind of projection and forecasting. What will HRs and people who deal with human, not only HRs, people managers, I think anyone in any managerial role is an HR in a way, what we'll be dealing with and what we should expect. And for this year, what was like the name of the year, if last year it was the year's fundamental uncertainty. So, and I think whenever you hear that, that sounds very close to your heart. And I remember when I was in the conference and I heard that word, I was like, so it's not just us, it's happening everywhere. And you understand that that's where we are, it's fundamental uncertainty. So by this year, HRs understood that this is where we are. We have to live in this. There's nothing we can do about it. And it's about resilience with co-intelligence. So here complies resilience, and co-intelligence means working with AI. So we're learning how to work with AI. And what we were talking about, even replacing teachers, it really is close to me as well, because everyone talks about, will HRs be replaced? Will recruiters be replaced? And everything like that. But I think no matter how much automation will be there, people will still want to talk to people. And that's what happens right now in the market as well. If you see, like now, a skill for a recruiter is to understand when a candidate is talking to them through ChatGPT. And they know how to recognize it by now. And most likely, if a person is talking to ChatGPT, they have low communication skills, low English, and they will very likely be actually passed on, like not be, you'll continue working. So these skills might have not been needed a while ago. So to work with AI where it doesn't replace you and it doesn't look like it's just AI doing your work, that's co-intelligence, where it should be human-led by AI-driven. This is all, as I said, part of the report and projections of the HR Institute. In resilience, we have to be ready for change. It will happen every day. Even when you just start working today on a task or any project, and as I said, open a job position, tomorrow the requirements might change. And what I was thinking about also while listening to the projects that they do here in STEMbridge, I think it's very important to also let kids have that experience. Well, first you give a task, you give the requirements, they prepare, they research, they invest, and then a week later the requirements change, someone changes their mind, and that's a reality, and that's what resilience is. You have to be ready for that change very quickly.
It's a typical project manager's experience, right? So we've already touched upon some skills for the future, among them critical thinking, self-efficacy, co-intelligence, I guess emotional intelligence as well. I would like to hear more inputs. Nikita, Vitaly, what would be your ideas of the critical skills for tomorrow?
Okay, my thinking is very easy. In my opinion, communication skill is one of the most essential skill for future our children, because it's not just about success in any area. It's about happiness of our children. Yeah, because I know a lot of companies, a lot of people who very success, but unfortunately they cannot make some connections and relationship with different people around themselves. I also think that communication skill is also important for our future, because today moment when we even cannot imagine what can happen in future, when we can have a big risk for future, if you say about war, about other critical events, etc. Just communication can help to solve these problems. And I think, I'm sure that if all people, be excellent in the communication, we even have no war, we even have no some big problems in all company, in our relationship, in our family, etc. I have a lot of discussion with my daughter, she is 14, and now she have a lot of question for myself, for me, why I need to do it, etc. And I understand it's okay, it's normal for me. I don't need to. Very good term was sound in previous discussion. Comfortable children. It's okay. They should to say what she want. We should to listen me, and I should to listen her. And in result, we can find some solution. We can help us to make great environment in our family, in our future, in our company, etc. That's why I think communication skill, negotiation skill is one of important. And if I remember right, even big company like Epam, etc. Have a big research about it, and they check that about 20% of productivity depends on good communication environment in the company. 20%. Imagine. That's why I think communication skill is one of the important.
So on top of that, what we are seeing currently in industry, in while working with customers and T-shape specialist, it's no longer enough, and we are moving forward to really not a T-shape but M-shape and all this stuff. What's important in our world right now is also creativity. What I mean by that is it's not longer enough to follow a road to solve a task. You have to tackle it from different angles to understand how to do it better in most creative and fast way. That's what I personally teach my daughter. Like she's 13 right now.
Yeah, okay.
I'm pretty like I know what you are talking about. And like when she's asking me questions and saying like there is guidance in the book how to do like or how to tackle this particular issue, I'm saying no way. You shouldn't do like just follow. Enable your critical thinking, enable your creativity. Maybe there is a more optimal way of doing that. And what I teach her and what I usually teach my teams, work smarter, not harder. And that saves your time and probably you will get emotional stuff and all these things. And it's important for me to teach my children and my teammates as well.
If I may.
Sure.
Yeah, a short input from my side. I absolutely agree about all the qualities, all the skills with the colleagues, but I think it is important to admit that it is not like absolutely mandatory to have all these skills, all these features. One of my colleagues, a professor in North Eastern in the US, she introduced a so-called concept employability. What does it mean? That combination of different skills associated just with you can give a very specific, a very unique set of skills, combination of skills which secures competitiveness at the labor market. So, of course, those skills that we mentioned, they're the most important. But the proportion of these skills may be different for a particular person. For instance, one be very competitive due to mostly hard skills and technological literacy. And even communication skills will be maybe very low. I have a colleague, he is a really good professor, but he is rather poor with communication skills. And he understands. He says, I can do nothing with that, but I can make more stronger my hard skills. So this is one strategy of employability. So to make the idea very brief and concise, I would say, so do not try to combine everything which is not very close to you. Focus, not you, your children perhaps, try to stimulate them to focus on the skills that they can really cultivate and develop. And I think this is a prerequisite for their success.
Thank you. So from what I'm hearing now, we have to develop all of those skills like communication, like the ability to listen, to coexist and co-create with AI, with other people, and make it your own combination. But ultimately, all of those qualities is about being better human, basically. So I would like to address the elephant in the room, which we haven't talked about yet, which is, of course, artificial intelligence. Let's talk about the way it's going to change the way we work.
I can only give an example of where we are right now with AI, kind of where we are. So the analogy that came to my mind is that when cars were invented, first there were no roads, there were no signs, there were no rules, right? So they just like first cars, then came the roads and people learned to work with it, came with rules, license and everything like that. And I may be wrong, but it took probably about 15, 20 years minimum. Maybe someone will correct me. Meanwhile, with AI, as we talked, it existed before, but somewhere deep in tech. But everyone has been talking about it probably the last year or two, like a lot everywhere. So that's where we are. We're in that year or two where we're just trying to learn with it, like how to work with it. The laws are coming out. Like, to be honest, I have no idea how people write thesis in universities right now, because I remember when I was writing it, like I could use internet compared to how my mom was writing it, because she went to the library. And how they write it now, that's one thing. How universities check it and what diplomas people have, and then that's a question for me. I have no idea how they're solving it. I'm in the business, that's good. But at the same time, that's probably something that us as a business should be thinking about, because we'll get those specialists in the future. And if they wrote their thesis with AI when it just came out, that we have no idea what they'll actually know and will be able to do. But the only thought that came when I was thinking like how we communicate with AI, we don't know, because we're just learning right now. And as I said, from my side, I can only say when we like interview people, when they do their tasks and everything, it's really hard right now because everyone looks the same. There's a lot of fake accounts, a lot of fake people, a lot of fake communications. As I said, right now, we're trying to find the real people in between those candidates. So probably it'll take us a bit quicker than with the cars because the technology is moving much faster, but we're still learning. It'll take some time to like find the right way to use all of the AI. That's the only thought I had because I don't have an answer to your question, unfortunately.
For sure, indeed, the adoption of technology is way faster. It took the aviation industry 68 years to get 50 million customers. It took OpenAI 3 months. So indeed, we're far beyond the point where we need the rules for that. But on an easier note then, how do we teach critical thinking to kids if adults right now refer to ChatGPT's output as an authority?
Okay, maybe I can say how I use some approach to develop critical thinking in children which I speak with, or in my daughter. I helped my daughter develop the skill. The first of all, I try to shift her focus to the good question, not for good answer. Good question is the most important point. Yeah, in my opinion, good question more time better than good answer. If you say about conversation, if you say about communication, negotiation, etc. Yep. And first of all, I every time when she tried to say something, etc., I ask her to ask anybody, etc. After this, just say something. Yep, it's the first point, in my opinion. The second point, which I also use, maybe you don't know this approach, like 5 why. Yep. When somebody asks, said you, etc., even when my daughter said me something, yeah, I want to go to the camp, for example, yeah. First of all, I ask why. She answer, I repeat why is important for you, etc. Just after 5 why, the first of all, I save my family from cats and dogs, yeah, by using this approach. I save my budget a lot of times, etc. And I help her to use this approach because, in my opinion, it's very important. Because in today, in modern life, in modern information world, the big problem that fake information created very fast, about I know terabytes in the second, and unfortunately, ChatGPT AI can use this fake information, and people who found this information, create this information, unfortunately have a big skill in the psychology, etc., because they focus on, I know, some criminal, etc. approach, hacks, etc. That's why they have to help our children, to separate this information, because it's very important to find what is true and what is not true, in my opinion. That's why this approach I use. You're welcome.
Now let's ask the next question.
Basically, you asked a very good question. Like, the skill of formulating proper question is really a must-have, because what I'm seeing with our clients, users, and other people that attempt to try AI or like starting using it, they're saying like, I'm asking question and it lies to me, right? And my first question, what you asking for? Like, he's saying, tell me something. Okay. Right? And it's not the way of how AI works and not how language models are built. You should understand the like foundation behind models, at least on a high level. And you should formulate proper questions to get like meaningful results for you. And that's a skill that we need to teach. And even with my daughter, like, she of course is using like ChatGPT and other like tools that we are developing, and I teach her to properly work with it. And like what said previously, we are at the stage where humans are empowered with AI tools. And that's one of the stages, because if you take a look at the like research for AI 2027, it's kind of will be swapped, like where people will be executing tasks and only poked at, when AI can solve the issue. And we have to learn how to do that, and we have to teach people how to use it properly. And what I'm usually saying to our clients, guys, if you have a perception that you have like 100 people working in your organization and you want to fire half of them and replace with AI, you have failed from the day zero. AI won't replace human being, like at least in nearest future, but it allows to make smart people smarter. And it doesn't work vice versa. And that's why critical thinking, foundational knowledge that people are gaining is a must have, right? And when you work, like, you can be productive. I'm personally like developing all this stuff, right? And based on my team experience, like sometimes we get a boost like twice, 3 times. We can work 3 times faster. But when you give like this instrument to just people who either don't want to do that or afraid like of using that, it like it's completely opposite. And what also we usually saying in terms of state of the market, and we have like concerns even inside our company, like we are pretty big, and some people are saying, when AI gonna replace me? And for these people, we have an answer. If you think that AI gonna replace you, then it will be right away. Because you don't have enough skills to survive in this world. If you develop the skills, you will not only survive, but you will benefit and you will boost your productivity. And that's what we need to, like, from my perspective, that's what we need to teach our children, to understand that, to use it, to partner that. It's like when you are like a delivery man, you can either go on foot or you can use a car. Pick a car, use it, and you will be faster, smarter, and that's pretty much.
So it sounds like it's people with AI who are going to replace people without it, not AI replacing people.
Yeah, it's people who gonna replace just people, because most of the work are already AI-powered, AI-enabled. HR, right? Generating like your profiles, your CVs. Even we have like inside company interviews and assessments on the languages. That's AI-powered, and there are 2 levels. Like, first of all, you talk with AI, and after that, might be you can talk with a real human being. And you see it everywhere, right? When you go to a bank, right? You chat with the bank. You don't chat with real people. They're saying, hello, I am whatever, not Ali, but I'm not.
And you're asking to call a human, yes?
Yeah, and it doesn't help.
Dmitry, I would like to ask about economic perspective on that. Are we really losing jobs because of the AI? Or is it like a scary tale that we tell ourselves?
Maybe I'll continue and begin with what Nikita was talking about. So yes, I agree that AI changes the job market, and as I mentioned from the very beginning, it substitutes those segments of medium-skilled labor. But at the same time, I would not over-exaggerate the impact of AI. Again, if referring to those report I was mentioning, the future of jobs, if we look back to 2019, and the expectation of how much jobs and job tasks will be atomized how much, 6 years ago, and comparing with the reality. So the expectation of the level of automation was almost twice higher than it was de facto. And today, and this is the biggest, the largest survey of the firms, as I remember, a couple thousand of the firms all over the world are surveyed in this report. And if they ask about the perspective of automation for the future, they are more conservative today. So why additional arguments why this happened? Once again, I absolutely agree, and this was my main point in the introductory speech, that the segment of medium-skilled labor is being substituted and crowded out. But at the same time, let's think about some very important industries such as education, healthcare, maybe some government services, and huge of these services are still secured and produced by people. So these industries are most labor intensive. And in many of them, AI, yes, it can change the workload, it can change tasks, but still the perspective of full crowding out from the industry is somehow, I would say, a challenge. In the first panel, there was a note by the colleague who mentioned that he is expecting that there will be a period when all teachers will be robots, but then there will be a flashback. Perhaps I can imagine this. The very interesting feature about the AI, it is disrupting and introducing innovations in those industries that were not affected by innovations in the 20th century. So just medicine, healthcare, and education. So in 20th century, it was production of services was the lowest from the level of effect of innovations. It was at the lower level. Today, the picture is a bit different. But once again, this does not mean that everything and all skills will be absolutely pushed out. So my expectation from this, and here I absolutely agree with what is Nikita saying, that yes, people are dealing with AI and having skills to communicate, to intimidate with AI, they most probably they will be in those high-skilled segment and they will be still much demanded. Is this a catastrophe that a huge part of labor force will be pushed to the low-skilled labor? This is a question, and I think from the social perspective, this is a very challenging question, but still this does not mean that for sure these people will not be needed. No, this is again, I think, exaggeration of the challenges we have today. So concluding, I would say AI, current stage of development of AI, give us more grounds for optimism. Of course, there are challenges, but saying that everything will be done by robots and AI, this is not at least the perspective of 50 years ahead.
I won't be so optimistic. So, let me agree.
Let's see if our audience is optimistic.
Yeah.
Please raise your hands if you do not allow your kids to use any sort of AI. Wow. If you do allow to use it. Yeah, okay, we're up.
Do you have a chance?
If I may, just a couple of words more, and how for dealing with it in education. Just again, yesterday we had a very good discussion with our American colleagues. What in American education do? They focus more and more on experiential learning. For instance, in higher education, they say today everything we do with based on the business cases. So we don't have classical lectures, we don't have classical seminars. We have a database of business cases, and this is the background how we work. So every small group, so we divide our classes by small groups, and they must choose a business case, and they must provide a solution in weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and so on. So this is a way they are trying to refocus today, and this is a response, a systematic response, how to be creative in the era of AI. So you have a real problem, and then what is very important, you provide this solution not only to the university, but you also have a possibility in most cases in good universities to present this solution to the firm about whom this business case was composed. And this is a kind of attempt to be at the job market at the same time. So I think this is a very interesting example, and for Europe, for European countries, I think this trend will be with us very soon as well. So this American practice is, I think, is very interesting to be borrowed.
And that's what we are saying about like adaptability, like business focus. I mean, completely agree with Dzmitry. And I wouldn't agree with the statement that like we are safe for 50 years. God knows what's gonna happen in 10, right? What I would say is that we are probably gonna have some critical industries, like nobody wants an AI to do a surgery, right? At least yet. Nobody probably won't be comfortable when a robot teaching your child. I mean, I personally don't want. Like, I want a human being to talk to people and explain like humanity and all this stuff. What I think that at some point, I mean, we are not there yet, and we are seeing huge pushback from organizations like old style, old fashioned organizations with like processes like government. They literally stuck in the like beginning of 20th century. Some of them, not saying like some people, some organizations trying to build really like modern stuff. Like, we are working with several governments who want AI ministers and who tries to build that. And that's probably a new way of thinking. Like, of course, it's not gonna replace people for critical thinking or critical positions. But as I said, it might empower existing roles. Yes, it's definitely gonna replace some medium and average skills, but not all of them. And we'll see.
So to end up on this high level, high education, high paying jobs, we always talk about like adaptability, of the ability to constantly learn, and resilience to keep up with this environment. But how do we build this? Because I doubt that we're talking about taking another, I don't know, project management course, right? So how does this adaptability, everlasting learning would look like? And how do we encourage this culture in kids?
I think I kind of immediately think that we should put kids in an environment like a sandbox. And I mean, sort of sandbox, where we give them like tasks that are various by nature, and they might learn how to address those tasks and pretty much fail with some of them, right? Succeed with another part, but at least we're gonna show in reality, in simulation, how real life might look like. Not just saying, okay, here's your like course for half a year. Or, for example, having 3 days deep dive into problem solving. You haven't solved it, you failed. You haven't solved it, you failed. You solved yet another case, you win. And after some iterations, I think again, and with definitely help and guidance and all this stuff, you might develop this adaptability, you might develop creativities, that's what I was referring to, and you might develop like a good foundation, that what Dzmitry was talking about, of like business skills that might help to solve, or real like business skills that might help to survive in the upcoming world. That's what I'm saying.
Into my mind is taking a step back. Before learning to be adaptable, you have to know what you're good at. And that's what I feel a lot of people lack. Everyone knows about the imposter syndrome, and everyone, especially really good specialists. I see a lot of good specialists, when they do a good job, you merit them for them, but they say, but I didn't do anything special. It felt easy for them, maybe because they're actually good at what they are, and they found that career line where they're good. So from the beginning, they moved into direction. As they say, people still, most of the time, people divide into technical and humanitarian at the beginning, and then there's many ways to go there. So I think what helps going like from early, even childhood, is we're all born with some like traits and abilities. Still, we have like our parents that give us that, and just we're born with them, and help at very early stage figure out what are those strong traits you have. And parents and teachers should help develop those and make them stronger, so that they will be resilient, because they can change careers, professions, but they know what they're good at, and they find a way to use it in the real world, even though it's changing. So maybe, and then at the same time, know your weaknesses. That's even more important, is know what you're not good at, and try not, because I also, unfortunately, you can really tell when people in their career chose their profession and not, because those who chose theirs, they don't actually do much to grow in their career, because it comes naturally. They just do what they're good at, and they just grow. And then those, at the same time, there's people who put a lot of work into their tasks, a lot of thinking, they're trying to learn, but they're still moving slowly because they're going against their nature, against what they're good at. So I think maybe in order to be adaptive, first you have to be like what we can do at very early stage is to actually help people like children figure out what they're good at naturally and help develop that. And in parallel, of course, develop what they're not as good at, maybe, but at the same time, still focus so they know they're actually good at it. They feel confident and they can move forward in the world, even if it's changing. They have to go to a new company, new school, new country, but you know what you're good at and you find a way to kind of use it where you can.
Okay, also something about it. In my opinion, adaptable is not a very big challenge for us, because if you look on children, they are so adaptable. Absolutely, yeah. The big question for us, for adults, yeah, how to save it, yeah. Because if I look and compare, for example, my daughter with myself, even, yeah, I see that she found a lot of different solutions, which I even cannot imagine, yeah. That's why one very important point, yeah, to help save it, to help save this approach, yeah, to be open, yeah, forget about all limits, yeah, cut all limits, etc. This is important. It's like for I don't know, team lead, etc. It's very important to save first motivation for every employee. Yeah, because when I come to some job, I am very motivated. Yeah, and this is the question for manager. Yeah, how to save it. Unfortunately, a lot of managers not ready to do it. Don't know how to do it. Yep.
It was a question regarding adults. I would say again there are two potential strategies using those concept of employability. The first strategy is just a narrow focus in very specific skills, and you adaptable in a sense that whatever the change in your requirements to your sphere, you will be able to adapt because you are super professional just in this very narrow field. This is strategy number one. And the strategy number two that colleagues were more focusing on, when you can switch between absolutely different majors, absolutely different fields very flexibly. For adults, my advice would be just understand which strategy works for you better and try to focus on it. And what I really see, people are very successful when they understand what are their strong features and follow this as a strategy. If we're talking about children, it's really, I think, a challenge. Which strategy shall we use and which is the preferable strategy here? For secondary education, my guess, I'm focusing on tertiary education. For secondary education, I would say the task might be, this is once again this hypothesis, that you may show children what are possible directions of their specialization of this narrow focus for their future jobs, but without pushing them there, just showing a very wide scope of possible career development and so on. I think this is the best strategy for the secondary education and what we are doing in a tertiary, in a higher education. So for instance, at a bachelor level, our task here, we want, as we say, to construct a background, a basement for them to understand which career path is really their choice, and 3.5 years they devote to their bachelor degree. This is constructing this very broad path, this concept of employability, which deals with the possibility of switching. And after that, they can choose if they want this narrow track or still remain at the very wide track. So
Thank
this
you.
idea.
Thank you for these great ideas. We are now running out of time, so I would like to invite questions from the audience. If you have some, please raise your hand and the floor is yours. If there is none of those, I would like to ask you one last outro question. It doesn't have to be deep, but what is one thing that you do to ensure the best future for your kid in terms of the skills? What is it that you teach them to make sure that they're succeeding? Nina, I guess you're a mom to your employees.
Well, for now, to be honest, I'm going to talk about adults, but they are like kids, very honestly. When I was listening to the previous panel and you talked about in one day, like something got stolen, some emotions here and here, that's my day of work pretty much. Like one message that someone got into a conflict, then someone didn't do well, and then someone did very well, and you have to merit. So that's my day. And so for adults, what I teach everyone is very simple, is life-work balance. But it's changing as well with everything changing. So everyone thinks that life-work balance is just, not working after 6. So that means you have life-work balance. But now with remote work, with different time zones, with different tasks and everything, people are trying to integrate work and life. And that is completely normal in order for you to be, as I say, when you know yourself well, you're more productive in the evening to do focus tasks, then take the time in the morning to take a yoga class, if that's what's comfortable for you. Especially for people who have children, it's very important. Of course, the job markets and the companies have to allow this, but at the same time, if you're allowed to do that and to learn this, because if you are not able to do everything in the work time, if you're able to steal that time from the work to take a rest, that's important. And of course, turn it off on weekend, turn it off emotions and focusing. So that way you're circle of balance where you have life, work, your social and hobbies, you have a bit everywhere. That's what actually helps you be more, again, resilient and move further on, because burnout, we hear a lot about it. So I think a life and work balance, and we're talking for children, I guess it's the same, because children nowadays, parents try to put so much school, different, those classes after and everything so much into it that they don't have the time to think, what do they want to do? And they should have that time.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I think of course we say a lot about skills, important skills, essential skills for future, etc. But in my opinion, all start from love. First of all, what we need to focus on, love for our children, for our boys, girls, etc. And I think we have to find people, if you say about teacher, school, etc., who also can love our children. First, all starts from love. And after this, everybody can find some interesting ideas, some interesting approach, how to develop some important skills, etc. But focus on love, and after this, you can find all what you want. Thank you.
I was about to say a little bit different thing, heard Vitaly. I would say that I teach my daughter to do 2 things. First, broader term, work, study smarter, not harder. And there are a bunch of things underneath. And second, understand that you have my support. Don't be hesitant, don't be a stranger, don't be afraid to ask questions, any sort of, and that's how I work with her. And basically I started doing that once she got 2 years old and start talking. I never spoke with children and with my daughter like a child. I always tried to treat her as an adult and explain. And yes, it took a bunch of time to explain, but at least understand that you can always refer to me, to my wife, and we can help you with any issue you face until you are in charge of making decisions by you. That's 2 things.
My personal strategy regarding my children, I have 2 sons, 13 and 16 years old. So shortly it will be formulated like this. Try to expand your mindset, your mind horizon as wide as possible. So try all options that are available for you in order to find your specific features, directions which are interesting for you. And this is like a prerequisite that you will be successful in those fields that were detected as interested, as really fun for you. So I believe this is a good prescription for future success for them.
Thank you. And it's about time that we wrap up. I want to thank you all for joining us today, for sharing your insights. Thank you for making it the Saturday on this 200 something of November. So let's wrap up and have a great